We've reached Gershon Baskin. He is a former hostage negotiator and a researcher of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and peace process. He's also co-founder and co-director of the Alliance for Two States, and he joins us now from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
You're welcome. It's not a problem taking the time to talk to you. It was a problem spending all that time listening to the biggest liar in the state of Israel.
Well, as we heard in that news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he said the purpose of that news conference was to puncture the lies of what he called a global campaign of lies. And as we saw him standing there, it said, "Open your eyes to Hamas's lies." So to your statement then, in your opinion, what was your takeaway that has led you to make that comment?
Listen, let me start by just saying that Hamas is a horrific terrorist organization that really needs to be removed from its ability to govern Gaza and to threaten the people of Israel and the people of Gaza. On that, I agree with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The thing is that this press conference that he gave to the international community, to the foreign media, is more than the entire time that he's spoken to the Israeli public since the beginning of the war almost 2 years ago. He would not get away with saying half the things that he said to the international press because the people of Israel are more aware about the truth to be told. Just one example I'll give. He talked about how we graciously moved the people of Rafah out of Rafah. He said 1.2 million people there. Rafah was a small town of a couple 100,000 people that was crammed full with people from the north of Gaza. And then Israel moved them out, and today there's nothing left of Rafah. Rafah has been flattened. Most of the city of Gaza, where they're going to be increasing the attack on next, is wiped out also. We've heard from Netanyahu for almost 2 years now that we're a breath away from finishing the war. We're a breath away from removing Hamas's ability to govern and threaten Israel. We have won this war, and we've heard this repeatedly for at least a year and a half now of Netanyahu telling us we just need to take the hospital in central Gaza. We just need to take Rafah. We just need to take the Philadelphia corridor. We need the Morag corridor. Every time he has something new that will determine that we have finished Hamas off. The truth is that the hostages who were released, that he spoke about, were released by agreement with Hamas. The remaining 50 hostages in Gaza, 20 of them believed to be alive, will probably die either from starvation and hunger because of the way that Hamas is treating them, or they will be executed by Hamas as the Israeli army approaches, or they will be killed by the Israeli army itself. According to the official army reports in Israel, 41 hostages have been killed in captivity. A large number of them have been killed by Israeli bombs. This is not going to bring the hostages home. This is not the way to finish off Hamas. This is a political issue that needs to be dealt with at the political level, at the diplomatic level. There is agreement in the whole region that Hamas cannot continue to rule Gaza. Hamas itself has said over and over again that they are accepting a technocratic civilian government over Gaza. There's an issue of what to do with their arms, but they are willing to enter into a non-aggression pact for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, during which time they will disappear if there's a genuine peace process that takes place.
Benjamin Netanyahu outlined several principles, and I'll read some of them. He said for Hamas to be disarmed, for the hostages to be freed, for Gaza to be demilitarized, and for Israel to override security control there. He said in that news conference, it is the best way to end the war quickly, though no timeline was given by the Prime Minister there. What is your take on that and the timing of this announcement today?
About 22 months we've been fighting this war when Netanyahu said we're going to finish them off quickly. So I don't know what finishing the war quickly means for Prime Minister Netanyahu. We all know that Prime Minister Netanyahu has an interest in prolonging the war. We've been saying this for a very long time. Not coming from me, who's been a peace activist for so many years. It's coming from retired generals, retired Shin Bet heads, retired Mossad heads, who've been telling us for a long time now that this is a political war to save Netanyahu's political life. We didn't hear once from Netanyahu, not once, that he was the prime minister on October 7th, 2023. He was in charge. The responsibility of the failure of Israel to protect itself is on the shoulders of Netanyahu. He has never admitted responsibility. He will not take responsibility. He's trying to avoid taking responsibility by prolonging this war. Hamas has to be removed from its control of Gaza. The people of Gaza don't want Hamas anymore. This is true. They don't want to be ruled by Hamas. The Arab countries that surround Israel, Jordan, Egypt, the Saudis, the Emiratis, everyone wants Hamas to be gone. And this can be done through a negotiated agreement first for a long-term ceasefire, and then the political will of the Palestinian people to have a government that will govern them in Gaza, that will be legitimate and accepted by the people of Gaza and the people of the region. And there will be an Arab-led security force that will be invited by a Palestinian government to Gaza. And there won't be a single Israeli soldier left in Gaza, because as long as Israeli soldiers are in Gaza, there's going to be insurgency. There will be guerrilla warfare killing Israeli soldiers. This is a no-win plan of the Israeli government right now. The only winner is Netanyahu in his ability to remain governing Israel when a majority of Israelis don't want him anymore.
The UN Security Council is meeting today in an emergency session. They'll be discussing that Gaza takeover plan. In your opinion, could this make a difference?
I don't think so, because I think that until there's a change of mind in the White House, the U.S. is likely to veto any resolution put forth to the Security Council. I know that the United States president would support a negotiated agreement with Hamas that will put an end to the war and provide us with a long-term ceasefire and return of all the hostages. I have appealed to Hamas in recent weeks that they should, instead of showing videos of emaciated Israeli hostages, should begin feeding those hostages. They will get the American president more on their side in backing a deal. In the negotiations that have failed for a ceasefire deal, it's two Hamas leaders told me that they didn't understand why Netanyahu and the Israeli side were negotiating for only a release of half the hostages. Why didn't they want all the hostages released? And Israel was negotiating for a 60-day ceasefire, not a permanent ceasefire. This, again, is part of the Israeli strategy of Netanyahu of prolonging the war. I think it's also very important to note that for 22 months now, foreign journalists have not been allowed into Gaza. Netanyahu said they're going to allow them, but I want to caution everyone. He's going to allow them if they're embedded with the Israeli army. They will not be free to wander around and see the devastation of Gaza, to see all the hunger in Gaza, to see all the suffering. Let's not forget that more than 60,000 people have been killed in Gaza. That number will climb because there are a lot of bodies under demolished buildings as well. More than 20,000 children are reported to be amongst those who have been killed by Israeli bombs and Israeli warfare. This is what Israel doesn't want the world to see. So it's not going to allow journalists to freely enter Gaza, to meet people on their own. They will be embedded with IDF soldiers, and it won't be a free and open ability of the press to report what's going on.
The Hostages and Missing Families Forum is a group that represents many of the families of the hostages. The Israeli government, according to them, they say that the Israeli government issued a death sentence to the living hostages. They also said that the Israeli government issued a disappearance sentence to the bodies of those killed in captivity. But in that news conference, we heard the Prime Minister sounding very optimistic still that he could bring all of the remaining hostages back home. What is your take on that?
We know that if Israeli soldiers approach the tunnels or the bunkers or places where hostages are being held, that they will be executed by Hamas. Hamas has said this outright. This is what they're going to do. Hostages who came home warned us that this is the policy of Hamas. They told us when they were in captivity that they were told by their captors that if there's a rescue attempt, they will be killed. And this is a no-win strategy for Israel. Israel's not going to rescue hostages through the military operation. If Hamas continues its policy of starving the hostages, they're going to die in starvation. The pictures that Netanyahu showed us of two hostages are real, and they were published last week by Hamas. And they show that these two young men are very, very close to death of starvation. There was a medical report given by one of the senior medical people in Israel who's been following the cases of the hostages, who said not only have they lost more than 50% of their body weight, they've lost most of their muscle mass, their internal organs are going to be collapsing, their heart, which is a muscle, is going to fail soon. So they need to be rescued. They're not going to be rescued in a military operation. They can only be rescued through a negotiated agreement to end the war with a ceasefire. We have to negotiate with Hamas because Hamas is holding the hostages. And then we need to ensure that the politics come into play to ensure that Hamas will no longer be governing Gaza, that their militants who want to leave Gaza will be given free passage out of Gaza, that those who stay will be integrated into a Palestinian security force, which will be dedicated to a peaceful future with the state of Israel. Netanyahu's right, we cannot have Hamas on our border, but the people of Gaza don't want Hamas there anymore. I get phone calls every day from people in Gaza, WhatsApp messages and other social media saying, we don't want Hamas anymore. We don't support what they did on October 7th. Hamas committed collective national suicide of the Palestinian people on October 7th, and the people in Gaza know that now, and they don't follow that ideology. They don't want Hamas anymore. They just want to live in peace.
Netanyahu said that Israel wanted to hand over control of Gaza to an unnamed Arab force after Hamas is defeated, although it's not clear who that would be, which Arab nation that would be. Do you think that is a viable plan?
No, there is no Arab country that will come into Gaza on the back of Israeli tanks. The government of Gaza needs to be a Palestinian government. It needs to be based on people from Gaza who are credible, legitimate, reliable, not corrupted. Someone has to be appointed by the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, because he's the only legal, internationally recognized address for the Palestinian governance. It cannot be Mahmoud Abbas and his government in Ramallah because they have no ability to do that in Gaza. But there are people who have stood up and said that they're willing to do the job, put together a government in Gaza, work with the other Arab countries. If they invite the Arab countries of Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Morocco and others to send a temporary security presence to Gaza, they will agree to that on the condition that Israel is withdrawing from Gaza. As long as Israel is occupying Gaza, as long as there is no legitimate Palestinian government, no Arab state will send a single person to help calm the situation in Gaza, to restore law and order, to be a peacekeeping force in Gaza. That's dependent entirely on having a legitimate Palestinian governance in Gaza.
Gershon Baskin, thank you for your take today. Gershon Baskin is a former hostage negotiator.